Medieval times, castles, knights and epic battles. But have you ever wondered what happened behind closed doors? Forget the fairy tales. The Middle Ages were full of strict rules, hidden desires and secret passions. Today we're diving into the untold world of medieval sex. Straight, gay, forbidden and scandalous. Stay with me till the end, because what you're about to hear is far wilder than you think. In the tapestry of medieval life, marriage served as the bedrock of society. Yet, behind the facade of courtly love and chivalry, a different reality unfolded. For most medieval couples, sex was not a source of pleasure, but rather a solemn duty. Husbands were expected to perform their marital obligations, ensuring their wives could fulfill their societal role-bearing children. Wives, in turn, were expected to submit to their husbands' advances, love and attraction often taking a back seat. Many marriages were not unions born of passionate love, but rather strategic alliances forged in the fires of political expediency or economic necessity. Love, if it blossomed at all, was a fortunate consequence, not a prerequisite. Yet even within the rigid confines of medieval marriage, whispers of pleasure and desire found their voice. Certain medieval medical texts encouraged couples to embrace the physical act, not merely as a means to procreation, but also as a path to enhanced fertility. Despite the Church's pronouncements, it seems the human desire for pleasure proved a persistent force. Evidence suggests that aphrodisiacs, those tantalizing elixirs promising heightened sensations, found their way into the bedchambers of medieval couples. Honey, wine and exotic herbs were sought after for their ability to add a spark to the marital bed. Behind the carefully constructed facade of medieval society, a world of clandestine encounters and forbidden desires thrived. Affairs, those whispers of passion that defied societal norms, were surprisingly commonplace, particularly amongst the nobility. Kings often took mistresses, their liaisons becoming open secrets within the court. Noble women, trapped in loveless or politically expedient marriages, sought solace and genuine connection in the arms of secret lovers. Even knights, those paragons of chivalry, were renowned for their, let us say, extracurricular services rendered discreetly to willing ladies of the court. Yet, the consequences of succumbing to such desires were far from equal. While men often emerged from these illicit affairs unscathed, women faced a far harsher reality. A woman accused of adultery could find herself facing public humiliation, the sting of a whip, or even the ultimate penalty, death. Driven by desperation or a thirst for forbidden love, some noble women resorted to extraordinary measures to meet their lovers in secret. Disguised as men, they moved through the shadows, their true identities concealed beneath layers of fabric and artifice. And then, of course, there was prostitution, a trade as old as time itself. The Church, despite its condemnation of carnal sin, adopted a pragmatic stance, arguing that prostitution served as a necessary evil to protect the The medieval Church, with its iron grip on matters of morality, cast a long shadow over same-sex relationships. Homosexuality, deemed a sin against God and nature, was strictly forbidden, its very existence shrouded in secrecy and fear. Yet, as with any attempt to suppress the fundamental aspects of human nature, desire found a way. Within the confines of monasteries, deep bonds of friendship often blossomed between men. These relationships, forged in shared faith and intellectual pursuits, occasionally crossed the threshold into a more intimate realm. Even within the hallowed halls of power, whispers of same-sex desire circulated. Kings and nobles, shielded by their status and privilege, were rumoured to have taken male lovers, their relationships carefully concealed from the public eye. Edward II of England, for instance, remains a figure of historical fascination, his passionate and controversial relationship with Piers Gaveston defying the rigid norms of his time. The consequences of engaging in homosexual acts varied wildly across medieval Europe. Punishments ranged from public humiliation and exile to imprisonment and even death, particularly as the Middle Ages gave way to the Renaissance. While the annals of history readily recount the exploits and scandals of men, the lives and loves of women often languish in the shadows. So it was with lesbian relationships in the medieval era. Though these relationships existed, often unseen and unspoken, they rarely found their way into the official records. Their stories passed down through whispers and hidden away in private correspondences. In a society that afforded women precious little agency, many women found solace and companionship in deep, emotionally fulfilling bonds with other women. These relationships, often forged in shared experiences within the confines of the home, the convent, or the bustling marketplace, offered a haven of understanding and emotional intimacy in a world dominated by men. The Church, ever vigilant in matters of morality, recognized the potential for deep emotional connections between women to evolve into something more. Nuns were explicitly warned against forming special friendships, relationships deemed too intense, too intimate, and potentially disruptive to the sanctity of their vows. Some women, yearning for a freedom unattainable within the rigid confines of their prescribed roles, adopted the guise of men. Donning men's attire, they moved through the world with a liberty unimaginable to their female counterparts, taking on traditionally male roles, and in some cases even taking female lovers. Surviving fragments of medieval literature offer glimpses into the possibility of romantic love between women, hinting at hidden desires and clandestine meetings. While the Church preached restraint and the virtues of chastity, a very different reality unfolded behind the closed doors of the elite. Amidst the opulence and grandeur of medieval courts, a world of unrestrained pleasure flourished, fueled by a potent cocktail of power, wealth, and a desire to break free from societal constraints. Word of lavish feasts hosted by the upper echelons of society filtered down through the ages, their descriptions painting a vivid picture of evenings fueled by copious amounts of wine, decadent food, and an atmosphere thick with erotic tension. As the night wore on and inhibitions loosened under the influence of alcohol and the intoxicating rhythm of music, clothes were shed and boundaries blurred, leading to scenes of uninhibited revelry that shocked even the most jaded chroniclers of the day. Some historians believe these gatherings, particularly those held in rural areas, may have incorporated elements of ancient pagan rituals, ceremonies designed to celebrate fertility and the life-giving forces of nature. Perhaps the most enduring and salacious tales of medieval debauchery centre around the Knights Templar, the warrior monks who amassed immense wealth and power during the Crusades. While the veracity of these claims remains a subject of debate among historians, allegations of orgies, homosexual acts, and even the worship of pagan deities fueled popular imagination for centuries. While the pursuit of pleasure may be a universal human experience, the consequences of indulging in forbidden desires varied greatly depending on the time and place. In the medieval world, where the Church held sway over matters of morality and sin carried immense weight, transgressing the rigid sexual norms of the day could have dire consequences. For those caught in the throes of adultery, the punishment was often swift and brutal. Women, deemed the weaker sex and held to a higher standard of purity, frequently bore the brunt of societal wrath. Public shaming, a spectacle designed to humiliate and degrade the transgressor, was a common punishment. Stripped bare and paraded through the streets, pelted with rotten food and insults, the adulterous woman became a pariah, forever marked by her transgression. Physical punishments, often meted out with a disturbing blend of righteous fury and perverse satisfaction, ranged from whippings and beatings to more gruesome forms of torture. Homosexuality, viewed as a sin against God and nature, was met with similar, if not harsher, punishments. Even married couples, those ostensibly engaging in a sanctioned union, could fall afoul of the Church's stringent rules governing sexual morality. The medieval world, for all its allure, was a place where the pursuit of pleasure, particularly outside the narrow confines of societal expectations, could carry a hefty price. So, while medieval sex was full of rules, secrets and dangers, one thing is clear: people have always found ways to follow their desires. because no matter the era, passion will always find a way. If you enjoyed this deep dive into history's most intimate secrets, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more untold stories from the past. See you next time.